So I don't know about all of you. I am kind of a nerd when it comes to stats and looking at them. And so what I love doing after the game, if I can, I love knowing the standard stats, which you saw a bunch in the videos from a couple days ago. But I also love knowing about snap counts. I love knowing PFF grades. I love knowing what situations, what players played in. And I think it can tell us a lot about what to expect going forward. So let's do a deep dive into the stats. We're going to start with snap counts, and then we're going to go offense, defense, and then we're going to go PFF offense, defense. So if you want to hang out for that, leave a comment at any point during this. If there's anything that stood out to you that maybe I missed, or that you agree with what I said, also make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the channel. That's super helpful for us. So this was, Pride of Detroit. We also have PFF, but I can't actually share the PFF one with you. So quarterback, no surprise. Goff got all the snaps. Here is a surprise. David Montgomery played 79% of the snaps, 55 of them. And he had, it doesn't say it here, but he had 21 carries. That's a lot, and that's a little bit more of a workhorse than I'd like to see him do. Jahmyr Gibbs only played 19 snaps. Only played 19 snaps. And I think what you're going to see is that's going to shift. But what this tells me is that Gibbs probably isn't there in pass pro yet. And this will change. This will get more to even. I would expect to see next week more like 45 and 30 for Montgomery and Gibbs. But what this tells me is that this running back room is going to get even more explosive. Tight end, I was thrilled. Sam Laporta played 83% of the snaps. A rookie tight end played 83% of the snaps. Are you kidding me? That is fantastic. Wide receivers, here's what I noticed. Amon-Ra St. Brown was on the field all the time. All the time. Josh Reynolds was on the field 70% of the time. And Marvin Jones Jr. was on the field a lot in the first half and not as much in the second half because he really struggled. But it reminded me that Josh Reynolds is good. Interesting fact, Khalif Raymond only played 27% of the offensive snaps. That I was a little confused by. He's been lighting it up, so I'm not sure why that was happening. Offensive line, no surprise. It's just good news. 100% of the snaps for everybody. Taylor Decker's injured, by the way. He hurt his ankle early in the game, from what I'm hearing, and he still was able to finish and play out the game, which is a really, really big deal because that would be a big blow to him there. By the way, a little preview into our PFF rating. Vaitai got an 88.4. He was the best graded PFF player on the team. All right, on the edge, Hutchinson, too good to take off the field still. 91% of the snaps. I would love to see him be able to play in that 80% range with other players playing a little bit better just so he can save energy, but he didn't really seem to get tired. What you saw here on the edge is that Hutchinson and Harris got the bulk of the work. Kaminsky and Houston would come in. Houston would come in if Hutch or Charles Harrison either needed a break or they moved to the inside. Kaminsky kind of played all over, but played in about half the snaps. That shows you that there's a talent gap between the two. Defensive tackle is weird. They clearly planned on playing a ton of edge rushers on the inside. I would not expect these snap counts to say the same. 66% for McNeil sounds about right. 62% for Jones sounds about right, but it's just interesting to me how to only play two defensive tackles primarily is nuts to me. Just three defensive tackles. Craziness. All right. Linebackers. Whoa. This was weird. As you would expect, Alex Anzalone almost never left the field, but Derek Barnes, Jack Campbell, and Malcolm Rodriguez, their play really dictated who got the snaps. And it was interesting to see Barnes and Campbell basically being like, all right, we're the two guys. Rodriguez played here and there, but only about a fifth of the snaps. Corners are exactly what you'd expect. Cam Sutton, Jerry Jacobs, 100% of the snaps. Great to see that. Branch, it felt like he was on the field for 100% of the snaps, but it was actually 68%. He did come off for a few. Will Harris was in there when he had a cramp. So thankful it's just a cramp. And then So nice to see these safeties playing 100% of the snaps. But here's what we need to see. And here's some of the kind of takeaways on this. Guys like Tracy Walker, guys like Will Harris that we had to rely on, guys like Malcolm Rodriguez, especially on this defense, guys that we needed to rely on, they barely played. And that, or some of them didn't play any snaps. When you're talking about Tracy Walker and stuff like that. So, and Will Harris played like 5% of the snaps. This defense is better. It's better. There are players that played almost all the snaps for us last year or the year before that aren't good enough to even see the field now. This is a better defense. All right. So I just real quick here, as we end this video a little bit, I want to talk to you. I mean, I have a few more minutes talking, but I want to talk to you about the PFF grades. Nobody graded higher than Halapalui Vati Vaitai. How awesome is that to see? And he actually graded out better on pass blocking than he did run blocking. He had an 88.4 overall grade. Jahmyr Gibbs was the second highest rated or graded offensive player, and I can see it. I can absolutely see that, but he did not have one pass blocking opportunity. And that tells me that's one of the reasons he was not on this field. Goff was a 76.5. Sewell, Ragnow, Reynolds round out the 70s club. No surprises there. The 60s club. Let's talk about the 60 to 65 club. You have Decker, Raymond, Laporta, St. Brown. All right. And then Jonah Jackson rounds it out. All right. So that's the offensive grades. The defensive grades were a little bit lower. So let's talk our 70s club first. You have Aleem McNeil, who is a team defensive high at 78.6. He did his job. And then you have Derek Barnes, Josh Paschal, Charles Harris, and CJ Gardner-Johnson. CJ Gardner-Johnson graded out at 70, but he was very low in his tackling grade, so he was good on coverage and run defense as well. Hutch actually only graded out as a 60, and the only other person over 65 was Brian Branch. So here's what it tells us. It may not have felt like it, but the offense was actually a little ahead of the defense in how they played. The defense got some lucky breaks with drops, with missed execution, different things like that. Also, when you play against Patrick Mahomes, it's harder to do your job that long because he's moving all over the place. He's making plays. So somebody has to be responsible when he hurts you. And you could see that reflected in the players' grades. I think the conditioning was impressive. The fact that you had multiple players that played over 90% of the snaps and they were still looking good when it came time for the end of the fourth quarter. I was impressed by that. And those are kind of the deep dive into some of the unique numbers. And let me know if you like the video seeing this kind of stuff, like snap counts, PFF grades. Like I said, I'm kind of a numbers guy, and I think it helps you see a little bit more of the whole picture that goes just beyond the eye test. So this might be your cup of tea. It might not. But let me know what you think in the comments. And if there's anybody where you think the numbers did not match how they play, or the snap count should have been higher, should have been lower, all that kind of stuff. But mostly, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and we'll see you on the next one.